Welcome to Spirited Straight Talk, the podcast to help you thrive with the help of spirit. I'm Deb Shepard, psychic medium, spiritual teacher, and author. Each week, I bring new insights to help you heal from loss, connect with spirit, and turn setbacks into triumphs. So let's get started. Doesn't it feel really great when someone says to us, I'm just so proud of you. You just did a great job. I can't imagine how hard or difficult it has been for you to accomplish these things. Isn't that a great feeling? Mm-hmm. We really desire as humans for other people to be proud of us. There are times, whether it's a large group, a gallery reading, or a private session, where I'll go, What do you have any questions? And they'll go, well, is my parent or my loved one proud of me? Mm-hmm. Even from the other side, we are still looking for validation. We're still looking to want people to think that we are good people and that we are doing things that people think are good. And nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I do want to talk about what the limitations are and what it can cause if we're always looking to get that validation. If we're always looking for someone to say, I'm proud of you. And there is a good vibe around that. When you're from a young child, we are, cheered on, clapped. Oh, you took your first steps. Oh, you're doing, we get excited. We have grandkids. Yeah. And we do cheer them on because we're so excited that we see another milestone being accomplished. Mm-hmm. And how we feel when they're doing things that are not acceptable. Mm-hmm. They know there's a difference, where they get accolades and, wow, we have to celebrate this. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then when they're driving us crazy or doing things that we don't think is appropriate, then energy shifts and they know this and they respond by that. We all respond by these things. What I want to discuss is how that affects our intuition. Because when we're looking for validation, when we're looking for the accolades, when we're looking for someone to say, I'm so proud of you, sometimes that means we're going against our own belief, our own feeling, our own gut. And that can shift and shut down. And then our life goes into looking for those approvals instead of trusting our gut and having that guidance that we all were born with. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many times do we feel really good when we're done with an event or we're done with our day and someone goes, wow, that really helped me. It changed my life. It keeps us motivated to want to do the work that we're doing. But at the same time, we have the other side of all of it where people are not supportive of what we do or feel like, what we're doing is wrong. And that other part could also influence us and stop us from kind of doing the work that we've been doing for so long. Does that make sense? How the things we get?
Right. Yeah.
And if you think, oh, no, I'm not really looking for accolades, and that might be true. But when we look at social media, we want to know how many likes. So we want to see how many people approve. And people, if it gets out there, if it goes, viral, we have all sorts of opinions and controversies based on what someone's belief is or what they do or what they've said.
Makes you feel more relevant.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. When we look at our life and you think about maybe your bosses, your customers, your children, your partners, everyone in your life, parents, sometimes we'll hold back because we know that we may get pushback or we may share because we will get that support. Like, oh yeah, I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad you're doing this. Now there's times when we're going through challenges and having people support us. That's the energy we need because that helps us motivate to keep on going. I've gone through a really hard time. Maybe you're going through changing an addiction, or maybe you're going through an abusive relationship. Maybe you're leaving a job that was just very, very challenging and people around are really proud of you and they're excited. Of course we want that. We want to know, yes, we have that support.
We're doing good. Yeah.
We're doing good. What happens when we do something that goes against the grain, where maybe we're not going to get individuals to think what we're doing is aligned with what they believe. Maybe you're doing something that's way out of line with the people that are the closest to you, and you get that pushback. And I felt that growing up as a child, where I was taught, don't do that because what will other people think? What will they say? You want everyone to always say good things.
Be more concerned about everyone's perception of you.
Yes. So this is about perception. And I believe at that time it was, oh, yeah, I can't do A, B, and C. So I lived a very limited, narrow viewpoint of life. There are times that I think raising children or helping people through life and education, I think we do need to have some guidelines. We do need to understand boundaries and value and respect those things. Absolutely. I was even reading something recently. When I was growing up, we learned home ec. There was a class on how to change your car's oil, sewing, cooking, shopping. They don't have those things anymore. I mean, that's really been taken out. I do believe some of these basics are important to bring back. At the same time, are some of our belief systems of our family and community keeping us from trusting our intuition?
Limiting beliefs, right?
Limiting beliefs, everything we teach. I think we forget about what our heart says or what our gut says. And
so living by others' opinions?
Yeah. You know what? Because I think it feels good to have that attention, to have that validation. I was also thinking, do we get addicted to getting that validation?
But then you're living to please others.
Correct. And when do you get burnout? So one of the ways to look at this is thinking about people that compete when you're not competing. So you may have,
you've had that recently,
where people are competing and because they're either not feeling good about themselves or they feel like they need approval. And it goes to maybe even back to your childhood where one child maybe had wanted or got more attention from the parents and you got less of it. And they would say, well, how come you're not like so-and-so? Or how come you're not doing like so-and-so is really smart or so-and-so is more athletic? And those things can really affect our self-esteem and feeling, I guess, approval and having this success, what they consider is...
Well, will give you love.
Yeah.
Like they love you more if they approve of you or of your choices versus just loving you and you get to
find your value.
Find your way. Yeah.
And maybe you're one that doesn't want to be the center of attention. So where does that value come from? I've also seen, you've seen this too, where if people are not getting all that attention, they become addicted to it. And if they are not getting those accolades that, hey, I'm so proud of you. Hey, you're really doing great. They become angry and will find another way to get that acceptance or get those approvals from somebody else.
So you mean they create drama in order to get attention?
Yes. And you're thinking to yourself, I'm not competing here, but I see that they're trying to get all the attention. And when that attention isn't there, they'll find another source. So yes, the drama. And we've certainly seen it.
So when do you cut cords? I know that's another podcast. I think we recorded that one, how to cut cords. But
I think part of it is realizing that when someone needs all that attention, their value comes from the feeling of I'm being recognized from others. That's where my value comes from.
So when they're not recognized.
I think when they're not recognized, I think sometimes people will pull away or they'll find another audience. They'll find another way to get what they need. And I consider that an addiction.
Yeah.
Because it has a certain energy or feeling towards it. So if you're listening and you know someone like that, you're going, oh, that's what that is. I can't give them enough of attention. So they're going to find another source and they'll actually treat you poorly because you're not giving them what they need with that.
And it's okay to let them find it from somewhere else too, right?
100%. Absolutely. It's like, I can't give you that much. And I think people have found that in partnerships where the one partner is so needy all the time for that approval. And you're just like, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted trying to make you feel better about yourself.
All my energy.
Yeah. And so instead of finding their own true value, it really comes from the outside.
Yeah.
And this, I think, is misguided on a lot of levels. What I'm going back to on this is when people feel like, I'm just stuck. My life feels boring and blah, and my job doesn't give me anything. And my relationships feel just flatline, and something doesn't feel right. Well, what happened during this process is your intuition checked out because your mind and your energy was, if I do things based on getting approval, those accolades, someone's proud of you, that felt like, oh, I'm going in the right direction. If you're feeling that what you're having in your life, you may be getting people praising you or thinking you're really awesome. But if you don't feel fulfilled, that means you're not really listening to your intuition.
Mm-hmm. Not listening to your intuition and not feeding your own soul.
Correct.
Right?
So you feel stuck, your life feels blah, and you're just like sitting there floating along going, yeah, people think I'm really great or not, but I'm not intuitive enough. So the teaching goes back to, if we go back to the basics, what makes you happy? For some people, I don't know. I don't know what makes me happy, because they've never asked that question, because it's always about getting the approval. What do other people think? And I do believe that when people get approval, they're assuming they're on the right path or they're doing the right thing. I look at that on so many levels about racism and judgment, how people will judge an entire culture based on their faith or the color of their skin.
Yeah.
If you have a group of people that agree with that, then you know without a doubt, just because someone says you're doing the right thing doesn't mean you are doing the right thing. It means you're with a collective group of people that happen to believe the same way.
And giving you approval for your belief system, which makes you feel included.
Yes.
Versus you checking in with your own guidance and your own
idea of what's right for you.
Yeah, intuition and idea. Yeah.
But if you're taught very early on that those approvals mean you're doing the right thing, and that's what you look for, you've gotten it from coaches, teachers, professors, from bosses, from clients, but you're feeling empty, even it's realizing that you're doing it for that, saying, oh, I must be valuable, versus where is your true value? And so people go, well, I really don't know where I want to go. So it starts off by kind of stepping back and saying, what value do you have? And how do you want to show up? How do you want to change that? Because if you feel like your life is boring and blah, it's probably because eventually when the cheerleading is turned off and it's really not there, or you're home by yourself, it's not very exciting. So we need to change that. What we need to do, or what we can do to go back to understanding, is listening to our soul again, because our soul is our compass. And I've talked about this throughout my other podcasts, is we are born with the ability to have our own radar. So what your radar, your compass, your psychic guided system is going to be different than mine, because we have a different path. And when we stop listening to it, that's where we get off kilter. That's where we get off and feeling stuck.
And different guides.
And different.
Do we all have our own guides, then they only stay with us? Or do you think they guide many people?
That's a lot of questions, but I will tell you, I think we all have our own guides. I'm not sharing mine with you. That's all I got to say. Mine work overtime.
Can I have your guides? No,
I think mine work overtime. But I think they can change over time. And I think that there are certain guides like angels and masters that work with all of us, but the guides that are just for us,
they're just
for
really
you.
dedicated.
And I think
for
over
us.
time that they change, just like your teachers at
As
times.
you evolve.
If you evolve, yeah. And if you don't evolve, you may still have the first grade teacher, guy going, yeah, we still haven't gotten, to figure out how to get in line yet, to line up and count. We don't know how to share yet. So we're still
count
here.
to 5 yet.
So depending on what your growth is, and that's why you see, different times in your life where you have major changes or life choices. And I think we have different guides that show up at different times to help us go, okay, we're going to put our seatbelt on for something new.
The reason I asked that question is as you were talking about, we all have our own guided psychic system, and we all have our guides that are helping us. And this is really for your intuition, for your guides are for you. So that was where I kind of went along.
No, it's perfect.
It's like, so how,
especially if this is the first time you're listening to me. And you, if you're listening to both of us, what do I believe about guides and what do I believe about intuition? So, and that question is asked often. Do I have my own guides? And of course, me have to do dad humor. I'm like, no, you're not in the line to get guides, but we all have them, and it's that.
But they don't work with anyone else
at that time
while they're working with you.
And if you're not listening, they sit there and file their nails waiting for you to listen. Don't get annoyed. As we know, there's times where I just don't want to listen to my guides because I know what I need to do, because we all know, your gut knows. We've all had that feeling like, oh, it's time for me to make changes, but we ignore it for a period of time. Your guides don't get upset with you. They're patient and go, when you're ready, we're still here. Absolutely. And that's why when people are feeling stuck or they're feeling out of alignment, I think for most of us that are strong individuals, it will take time for us to go, okay, surrender. I'm going to trust. I need to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we really make changes in our life, is because we've had enough.
Mm-hmm.
And all the praise that we get, or the praises start going away, things start shifting,
Mm-hmm.
and you know on a real deep level, it's not working. I think what's hard is we don't have the words sometimes, or the definition of what we're going through. So it's just paying attention to our surroundings until we get sort of that aha moment or that
Mm-hmm.
wisdom to help us with it. But I think it takes time. And I don't think that people are willing just to make changes on a fly at all. I think people have to be pushed. But I did write down some questions
to ask yourself.
Mm-hmm. So that you could start kind of going out there a little bit and thinking, how do I perceive this? Or how do I want to see this? Or how do I ask myself different questions
Mm-hmm.
to get those answers? Because if we're doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, we all know that's insanity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can ask yourself different questions, and it's not right or wrong, it's just how to shift your energy.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden things start becoming more aware, or you
Mm-hmm.
can listen to your intuition. And that's where our passion comes from. So many times I hear people say to me about their purpose, life purpose is, I just want to make a difference. I
Mm-hmm.
want to help a lot of people. I want to
Mm-hmm.
make an imprint on this planet. But if you're looking to do the same thing that makes approval from everybody else, you're not making change. You're just
getting approval.
You're getting approval. You're doing everything everyone else is doing. And for the people that rock the world and really change the world, don't always follow what everybody else is saying. They may be,
they're innovators.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. They're those pioneers. They're just saying, this isn't working for me anymore. And most likely they trigger people to say, I thought about that, but I was too afraid.
Yeah.
And that's really what this goes back to, is people are fearful of judgment, abandonment, not being part of a community, or losing individuals in their life. Even though life isn't good and they're not happy and their heart is heavy, we're willing to, what I call, prostitute ourselves and stay with what is comfortable versus taking those risks,
Mm-hmm.
pushing through the fear.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And so if you are just looking for that approval, you want people to be proud of you, I think that's great. But are you following what your gut's telling you? Are you really doing something that at the end of the day, at the end of your life, that you feel like, I feel really good about my choices?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our life is certainly not typical by any means, but I couldn't be happier. And the fact that we have a lot of people that judge, let's put it this way. We do have people that judge us. We've lost friends and family because of
their own belief
system.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have so many more that are so supportive that's where you find that balance, that you go, yes, because you're really being authentic. You're being transparent. There's that self-love. We're not looking for the approval to be able to live the life that we have. So that's where people there's that different kind of respect.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is some questions to ask yourself.
How many questions?
I think I wrote down 8. So we'll see if we go through all of them.
So write these down and answer them. So the questions that you're going to have people ask themselves, is it for them to really kind of connect with their guides and figure out what's in their heart? And
use your imagination. We talk about, your left brain versus right brain. So left brain is the one that wants you to feel safe, wants you to be, well, what will people think? Are you sure you want to do that? All that negativity, I'm going to say, or having you make sure you don't have any fear in your life. That's the left brain. The right brain is that creativity, that which connects to our heart and our soul and to our guides. So these answers aren't about, it has to be your right answer. It's more about getting your right brain to start having a workout, to let your body and your soul start downloading the information from your guides that you turned off a long time ago. Even if you've been practicing spirituality and you've been meditating or taking classes and reading books, it may be there, but you're still like, it's not quite all the way. These are going to continue to help you. Or let's say you're further along in some of this stuff in the journey, but we always need to revisit. I mean, I've been teaching this for a really long time, and I'm always going, I need to go back to the basics. I need to go back to the basics, revisit this, because that builds upon it. These are just some good things. So if you could go back in life and have a do-over, what would it be?
Hmm.
And the reason I thought that question was so important is, there's always those movies on Time Machine, going forward and backward. And I think a lot of us reminisce about what you would have done differently. And I think there's also a lot of guilt and shame that we carry in certain situations, or the fact of maybe I was really brave at that time. And that one time I was so brave and I did those things. So we can pull up on energy from all those different things. It isn't about beating ourselves up or looking for forgiveness, any of that. It's what did that experience, if you go back to one or two of those experiences, what value does it bring to you today?
Yeah. When I think about it, some of the major things that I wish were different, I don't know if I would choose to change them only because of what I learned through them.
Absolutely.
So I probably would lean more towards stupid things I've done.
Absolutely.
See, I erase that because of the guilt and shame it brings me.
Yeah.
But where I think some of the deeper ones,
what we get out of it, the value.
I learned so many deep lessons from them, There were aspects I wish didn't happen, or I wish I could change aspects of it, but that would change the entire scenario.
The value, though, from that is valuing those experiences without regret and saying, okay, I learned, I'm here today and I learned because of that. The other part of it is the smaller things. Oh, I was really silly. That was a bad mistake. What was I thinking? I think it's also giving ourselves permission to take risk. I think sometimes as we get older, especially, we play it so safe. If you recovered from that embarrassing moment, or
like when my skirt got stuck in
the back of your in the underwear as you went through a restaurant, we've all had those embarrassing moments, right? But does that bring us humor? Does it bring humility? Does it,
a tremendous amount of humility?
I think a lot of it too would be, wish I would have said this. I think people that, especially if someone dies and they wish they would have said something, or in a relationship where you wish that you would have had more value and supported yourself more. I think that reflection is basically tools you can put in a toolbox, or your magic bag, as I call it sometimes, so that you can use it as you move forward as things. Remember how you felt. Was your intuition right on, but you ignored it? And I think that's what I want people to walk away with, is how many times have we ignored those opportunities?
So what's the first question again?
If you could go back in your life, what would you do over, and what would it be? And it doesn't mean to do it over, just even what you take from that experience.
Okay.
I mean, we can certainly do it over.
Right.
I can go back this week and think about the chips and the cookies I ate and do over as I get on the scale. But I wouldn't have been eating
You
all
enjoyed
that.
them.
I enjoyed them. So it's having the idea of the humor, how I could have said things differently or done things differently and managed it, or even how long I held on to something. I mean, we can hold on to things for such a long time. How much energy that takes.
Yes.
And is there any value to how long we hold on to that perspective? And that turns off our intuition because we go into fear, regret, those type of things.
And it's really, and I know we got to get on to question 2 because you have 8 of these, but it's really interesting when I see other people in that place. And I know without a doubt that I used to be in that place where I would hold on to energy, the energy of something for so long. And it really feels now that it was just destructive to myself.
It's only to you, not the other individual or the situation. And I think with each other, because we have a new belief system, we support each other. We allow each other to grieve through it or get upset, whatever that process is, and then go, okay, let's move on. Doesn't mean we forgot about it or let go of it. It just means we're not holding that kind of intensity for so many days. It is what it is. It's a lesson. A couple of these questions are not really deep at all. They're a way to become more creative, to get that right brain muscle. So I'm going to sort of ask a couple of them together. So one of them is, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? I already know you're going to answer that. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? If you could learn a different language, what would that be? The reason why those 2 questions is to get our creative mind going to daydreaming, fantasy, exploration. We get to this place of, where am I safe? My job is a means to the end. my job is an means to an end. That's how we're supposed to say it. I don't love what I do, but I pay my bills. I get to live where in this location. But being creative helps that intuition develop. So if you could think, I want to live on a beach where every morning I wake up and I can hear the waves and I can smell the ocean air. I mean, that's definitely where you and I want to go. Learning a different language, I may struggle with that because English is even difficult for me. But using that imagination helps our intuition trust, because it's not about getting it right. Where you may live and a language that you may learn, it's not about getting approval, because what happens is if we're thinking, this is what I feel good about versus I'm going to start asking people, what do you think it would be like to live here? What do you think about learning Japanese? They go, why would you learn Japanese?
It's their belief system.
Again, we stop using our fantasy. We start using our intuition. We start believing in limitations. So if you didn't need approval, what would those things be? Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. How would you like to inspire somebody? And I think this is a really fabulous question, because one of the things I get asked again often is, I want to make a difference in people's lives. I want to make a difference in the world.
But how?
Exactly. Are you setting an example by only playing it safe and only doing things that get cheers from your community? If you really want to inspire somebody, are you going outside the box, the limitations, the limiting beliefs of the people around you? So, of course, I love Rosa Parks' story where she decided not to sit in the back of the bus or give up her seat anymore. Those are the individuals that really are inspirational. What are you willing to do that is maybe in conflict of the people around you? I mean, the way I was raised, this is taboo. Talking to the dead. I've lost a lot of family because of this. So how do you inspire somebody? What is it that you would inspire someone with? Would it be going through and writing a book about courage? Would you show up by doing something completely different and walking away from a situation to say, I don't have to live the way everyone else is telling me to do? So if you want to inspire somebody, what would that look like? Again, you don't have to share this. This is just all private. This is one of my favorite ones. What 3 words describe you?
That's a good one.
Well, think about it. I introduced myself. Hey, I'm Deb Shepard, psychic medium. I mean, I kind of have this
psychic medium author.
Yeah. It used to be radio personality. We use a description of our job. We use a description sometimes based on what people see as a value. Corporate executive. I am a influencer. I am in the medical community. I'm a teacher. I'm a police officer. I think we use our
job,
to describe ourselves versus
who we authentically are.
Or who are you inside that you're holding back? What comes to mind right now is Superman. Didn't he work for a newspaper or something?
Yeah.
And he had superpowers. Are your superpowers being hidden?
Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah. And are you hiding them because they may get judged? So if you think that you're a great singer or you're a great writer, or maybe you're a person that wants to be a great traveler, but feel like, people are going to say you can't be doing that until you retire or whatever the story is. What 3 words describe you? Are you an explorer and you want to know more?
Wow.
If there were no limits to health, money, or age, what would you like to do differently?
Besides live on a beach?
I was wondering if you're going to go there. What's keeping you from allowing yourself to change your life? This to me is one of the most important questions. What's keeping you from allowing yourself to change your life? I hear the word stuck. All the time.
I could guess that one.
Yeah. And of course, I use another word. I use the word marinating, because I think we all marinate at times to go inward, to reflect and think about what's next versus the knee-jerk reaction and just jumping through something. So to me, marinating is a more powerful word. When we get stuck, are there things that we can do simply by making some changes to begin to feel comfortable to make maybe a big change? So if you're feeling my job, my relationship, my health, whatever it is, my finances, things do not feel healthy on some level for you, then what small things you can do to make changes? Is it, if you're a woman, maybe it's wearing a different lip color. Oh my God, I I can't change my lip color, right? We get into fear about making any changes. It's going to be very challenging to make a leap of faith of a large change if we're not willing to make the small changes. And in my mentoring program, how they first begin is ordering something different at a restaurant, driving in a different direction, wearing a color that you would normally not wear. Start setting yourself up for success, but not looking for approval. So if you are wanting to make changes, are you going to make changes that you get positive feedback from, or are you going to make changes that make you feel better about yourself? And that's hard for most of us to do because especially in our society and for primarily women, which is most of our client base, is looking for that approval that I must be doing something right, or people like this, so I need to continue doing that.
Yeah. Versus being authentic to yourself and your soul.
I really think it's interesting when we see individuals that have a hairstyle or put color in their hair, or they wear something very, I'm going to use the word unique, and how people respond, whether they're doing it for attention or whether they're doing it just because they're saying, this is me, I don't want to follow what society has to say that I should be doing, is interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe they're saying, my soul doesn't say that look over there works for me. I don't know what my look is, but I know that I have to do something different. Bottom line, if you want to listen to your intuition, you want to have a different life. That's all I teach in all these programs is getting approval, having other people be proud of you is great, but it can limit your ability to trust your intuition and create a life that really has everything that you've been looking for. If you're wanting to manifest things and you put something together to manifest abundance, but it's based on something for approval of others, it's probably not going to happen, or it's going to happen not the way you want.
Or you're just going to be in the same place that you always are.
Absolutely. So I think the biggest takeaway is getting approval and having people be proud of you create your real value, or is your value from a different place? Because that's what today's topic is. Yeah. Where really does your value come from? Thank you for joining us once again on Spirited Straight Talk. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope it inspired you. If you enjoyed our conversation, make sure you subscribe so that you get notified of new episodes. And let's get connected. Visit debshepard.com for more insights, support, workshops, and to book a session with me. And finally, always remember, your loved ones in spirit are just a thought away. Even though they're on the other side, they're always by your side.